Hey everyone. Thanks y'all for coming out tonight. We're super excited to have this event, including our very own Frankie Brown. Thank y'all all for being here. It's because of y'all's support that we're able to have awesome events like this. So thank you and keep it up. And we have wine in the back if y'all need anything to drink. And so we're gonna have 2 readers and then some music interspersed throughout. So if y'all need anything, please let me know and have a great time. Thank you.
Hey, thanks everybody for coming out to New Town Revue. We've got an awesome show tonight. We've got we're gonna start with Frankie Brown, who most of y'all know. She works here. She's a young author who's already got her first book out. It's called Until We End. It's an ebook and it's available through Avid. You can buy it today if you like what she reads. But she's actually got a treat for us because she's going to read something new. So we also have Sam Thomas, who's going to read some poems, and Ragdoll is going to play some music. So we'll let Frankie start it off.
So I'm not reading from the book that was published last year. I'm going to read something new. It's a YA novel about a teenage girl, like most of what I write is about. It's about a girl who has an autoimmune disorder, which has basically destroyed her immune system. And for most of her life, she hasn't been able to be around people, but she's on these experimental drugs that have let her go to school and be around her peers and have a normal life, but she's not exactly well. And I'll just start at the beginning. I sit at the back of the classroom. No one can breathe on me here. Tucked in my corner, I can watch without being seen and listen without being heard. The teachers don't call on me anymore. They know I know all the answers. I guess that takes the sport out of it. Most of the kids are reading the latest chapter in our textbooks, heads bent over open pages, scribbling in nearly full notebooks and holding chewed-out pen caps. Thinking of the bacteria crawling onto their tongues from those pen caps makes my stomach cramp. I reach into my pocket for hand sanitizer just as the classroom's intercom buzzes. The school secretary's nasally voice comes over the speaker. "Dr. Teal?" "Yes," Dr. Teal says. "Will you send Tara Bennett to Mr. Cormack's office, please?" Dr. Teal looks at me and nods towards the door before turning back to her paperwork. After I started getting sick, people cut themselves into 2 groups. The ones who no longer knew what to say to me, and the ones who thought they knew exactly what to say. Dr. Teal's in the former, which I like much better than the latter. They all drone on about what a brave survivor I am, but there's nothing to admire about being sick. I stand and make my way to the front of the room. Who knows why I have to go to the dean's office? It's probably another scholarship offer. No one looks up as I pass their desks. I'm invisible, until a kid at the head of the row nearest to me sucks in a breath. His chin snaps back, blue neck veins popping, and his hand flies up toward his face. But he's too late. Spit flies from his mouth, misting the air in front of him with a cloud of bacteria. A thread of lime green snot shoots from his nostrils, catching on his top lip before dripping to the bottom. I jump and my back slaps the whiteboard. A few people giggle and someone mutters, "Bless you." Now everyone's staring at me, snickering. Idiots. I circle around the classroom to avoid the cloud of bacteria and stride through the door without looking back. Thinking of the germs polluting Dr. Teal's classroom makes the muscles in the back of my neck seize. For a moment I'm there again, standing beside that kid's desk and watching him sneeze in disgusting slow motion. I can almost feel his spit on my skin. I press my fingers to the back of my neck, cervical vertebra, unknotting the muscles, and lengthen my stride. The hallway is deserted, a squeaky plane of linoleum that seems to stretch forever. I stop at Mr. Cormack's office and knock. His name is neatly printed on a plate that can easily slide out whenever the administration doesn't renew his contract. "Come in," he calls. He's sitting at his standard-issue administrative desk, smiling from behind a mustache that makes him look like a walrus. I take the chair in front of him. "Tara, it's good to see you." His grin widens and I try smiling back at him, but I can't. I can barely keep my eyes away from his gut, the buttons of his pinstriped shirt gaping wide enough to show a stained white wife beater. Excess weight in the midsection means your organs are fat. Fat liver, kidneys, and slithery fat intestines. Makes your hormones go crazy and spikes your blood pressure, raising your risk for heart attacks and strokes and diabetes. I'll have a salad for dinner tonight. "We're so proud of your performance this year," Mr. Cormack says. Crooked yellow teeth and swollen gums. It's advanced gingivitis, a bacterial cesspool in his mouth. The plaque coating his teeth will slide down his gut and pave his arteries, exacerbating the heart disease he probably already has. I give him 8 years to live, maybe 10 if he gets a gym membership and starts flossing. He says, but we're concerned about the lack of interest you've shown in extracurricular activities this semester, which is why I want to give you the opportunity to tutor a peer. It'll look great on your college applications. I take the unscented, extra-strength hand sanitizer from my pocket. The lid makes a comforting click when I open it, and the smell of alcohol stings my nose as I rub it between my palms. I raise my hands to my face and inhale deeply, hoping maybe it'll clean my insides too. The dean's smile droops. He wants me to be normal. An inspirational survivor who will give a tear-jerking valedictorian speech about how this fucking disease didn't steal her future. That's too bad. I realize belatedly that I still haven't said anything. What subject do you have in mind? I ask. Relief spreads across the dean's face. We really are desperate for a science tutor. Which class? Anatomy. Could be worse. That's a more advanced subject, so at least the kid I'm stuck with won't be a total dunce. I sigh. It would make Mom happy at least. Sure, I say. When do I start? He says, this afternoon, 3:45 in Mr. Higgs's classroom. He didn't have that planned or anything. I dodge his hand before he can put it on my shoulder and power walk out of his office while he's still saying thank you. 3:45 comes quick as a heartbeat. In Mr. Higgs's empty classroom, I take an apple out of my vacuum-sealed plastic lunch bag and wipe it with a dry cloth. Skin redder than my tongue. I take a bite, swallow, my throat expands around it. It's 3:49. I'll give the kid 4 more minutes, and if he doesn't show, then I'm leaving. Civic duty fulfilled. I chew until my jaw hurts, thinking an apple a day keeps the doctor away. At 3:52, the door to Mr. Higgs's classroom crashes open, and I jump in my seat. The kid strolls across the empty classroom, the chain on his black jeans jangling, and drops into the desk across from me. Sorry I'm late, he says, fluorescent light flashing off of his silver lip piercing. Oral piercing, nerve damage, hepatitis, bacterial infection from a dirty needle that leads to endocarditis, making your hearts and valves swell until they can't pump your blood, turning your skin black and blue. I say, I think there's been a mistake. An eyebrow spikes up. You're the anatomy tutor, right? Yes, but so he slams his anatomy textbook on the desk. Tutor me. I know him, of course. Garfield's small enough for me to know everybody in the junior class, whether I like it or not. But Gabe's on the art-intensive track, so we only share one class, psychology with Dr. Teal. He was in the class that I got called out of earlier, the one that laughed at me. I take my bottle of hand sanitizer out and leave it on the desk. I'll need quick access. Oh, do you mind? Gabe asks, reaching for the bottle. He snatches it up before I have a chance to tell him, yes, I do mind, and do not put your filthy hands on the only thing that's keeping me clean. He squirts a glob onto his palm and then holds the bottle out to me. It feels like a fist is closing around my heart. Keep it, I say. Gabe says, okay. I fold my hands and put them in my lap. I cannot touch anything. I have no defense now. Gabe pushes his textbook across the desk. We're on chapter 7. Skin and integumentary system, I remember. What parts of the chapter are you having difficulty understanding? Gabe starts talking and the lip ring pulls against his skin. I can't stop staring at it, metal stuck through skin and fat and nerves. Why would someone do that? I look up from the piercing and realize he's staring at me. Had he been talking the whole time? I say, sorry, what were you saying? That I'd have an easier time if the anatomy teacher would stop speaking in tongues. He cracks his knuckles. Tongues? You mean Latin? I guess? The names are in Latin to provide a universal vocabulary for the body. Like, you could go to France, talk about your epidermis, and the doctors there would understand you. He says, there's only one scenario that would have me talking about skin in France, and it doesn't involve doctors. But then again, maybe it's disgusting. Gabe reaches across the table to grab his textbook, and when his sleeve pulls back from his wrist, my eyes widen. His skin under the shirt cuff is blue. Is it paint? My eyes flash back to his face, and I can tell by that cocky smile that he saw me looking. I bet he thinks his art is cool, or that I think he's cool for being an artist. I don't. I think his shiny white teeth are cool. He must floss. Gabe cups his chin in his hand and cocks his head, cracking his neck. It sounds like snapping bones, and I suddenly realize that's because the room is totally silent. Sometimes I forget to talk. People usually think I'm quiet or shy, which I guess is kind of true, but mostly I'm just bad at small talk and pretending to care about Justin Bieber. I recite the integumentary system's definition word for word from memory. Gabe looks from his open textbook to me. You read that upside down. No, I didn't. He thumps a knuckle on the cover of his anatomy book. Then I guess you've got this whole thing figured out? Yes, I say, wanting to get this tutoring session over quickly. Really, I could stand to learn more about the brain anatomy, but then can't everyone? First, we'll make vocabulary note cards. Gabe jerks the book away and holds it open under his nose. No, prove you didn't read that. Here, define subcutaneous layer. It's the layer of connective tissue between the dermis and the muscle fascia. Wrong, he says. Gabe's smiling, making fun of me, and I can feel my skin getting hotter. A thin sheet of sweat breaks out over my lip. I know this is a warning sign. I should remove myself from the situation and practice the breathing exercises that my therapist taught me. Instead, I say, I'm not wrong. Yes, you are, Gabe says, leaning back in his seat as if to keep the book away from me. I lunge forward to grab it, but he's too quick. My heart beats irregular. Not good. I need to calm down. I push myself back in my seat and breathe deeply through my mouth, out through my nose. I hate this place. Whoa, Tara, are you okay? I'm sorry, I was just playing. He drops the book on the desk and, pressing his palms flat against the cover, slides it toward me. I start to take it from him, but my hands are shaking visibly, and the book's huge and heavy, Catman and Goldman, 8th edition. It starts to fall. Gabe fumbles to save it and misses. Instead, he grabs my hand. I know he's saying, Tara, you're shaking, do you need the nurse? But his meaning is lost in the rush of blood to my head. I shoot to my feet, the chair clattering to the floor, and race into the hall. I don't stop, not even when I hear Gabe shouting my name, not even when my brain starts rattling off the risks of intense cardio exercise. Musculoskeletal trauma, cardiovascular stress, and atrial fibrillation, or prolonged abnormal heart rhythm. My muscles ache to run long and hard like I used to before I got sick. They're begging me to take off, to sprint until I collapse in a puddle of lactic acid and sweat. But once I'm outside on the sidewalk, I force my legs to slow and concentrate on putting one foot in front of the other. Right, left, right. Gabe is wrong, wrong, wrong. I hear him in my head. Then I guess you've got this whole thing figured out, don't you? And yes, I can recite definitions and physiological processes for all 24 hours of the day. But the textbook doesn't describe how it feels when these things go wrong. The burning.
Thanks so much, Frankie. And now we got a new band from Athens. This is only, what is it, y'all's third or fourth show or something like that?
Maybe even less than that.
Maybe less than that, yeah. It's Ragdoll.
So I'm Megan, this is Matt, this is Abel. Call ourselves Ragdoll. All the things that I've been longing for, wait to get my hands
Introducing Sam Thomas. My name is Beth. The first time I saw Sam, she was walking out of some woods into a pasture on my dad's farm on the day of my wedding. That's where I met her. And since then, she's gotten advanced degrees at Oxford in England and Ireland. And in the short time I've gotten to know her writing, she's published from Berkeley, California, all the way to New England and abroad. And yet if you try to find her online, you're not going to find a website. She's not on Facebook. She doesn't have a Tumblr or Twitter. And what I love about it is knowing that she's doing the work writing screenplays and stories and getting it done. You don't really have to sell yourself. You just have to write good work. So I'm really honored to introduce Sam.
Get this out from here. Carefully. There's a man back there. I swear there is.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for coming. Thanks Ragdoll. Let's see, I guess let's stand up. And I want to say a big thank you to, thanks Beth for my intro, and to Deirdre and Al for making an opportunity like this, and Janet. I was just telling some friends that it probably, I always thought it'd be like a cold day in hell before Athens would want to hear any of my poetry or poetry in general, because it's such like a indie rock music town, and there's always something kinetic to see rather than sit and listen. But so it's not a cold day, but it's a cool day. Cool day in May. I'm gonna try and do like more storyline poems, because I think they're just easier on the air. Last night, Christina, the most incandescent of the Lithuanian food runners, decided to elope with the security guard, Ken Bailey. All along the beach, fires blazed orange, turning the sand near cobalt. The moon and air were so clear. $5 to Stellar's party, and the sangria and Rolling Rock flowed. Kelly locked herself in the Corsica with all the cocaine again, and you lied to Lena and stayed with me. We all watched as Eamon turned a vat of Grey Goose into a livid monster blue martini over at the Shark Shack, and were just starting to groove when Sorana called Lucas a stupid dick for saying the Romanians were nothing but a bunch of gypsies. You could hear them brawling in the dirt lot behind the motel till dawn. By then Liam had grated a raw V into his forehead, body surfing, and everyone blacked out, each unquestionably in love with the other. I like to write a lot about travelers and wanderers and expats and people kind of on the road and just doing their thing. People like to get lost, jumbled up cultures and jumbled up places and races and all of that. A little bit like me. This is Hotel Verlaine, after Paul Verlaine and Arthur Rimbaud. It's also a hotel near Paris. Hotel Verlaine. Come on, let's play a game I lose. I'm left here lying alone, and beauty does not play. The version of this I'm thinking of. You blunt the mending needle and booze it up over my sensible shoes. You gave it all over to some benediction, some pope of the after hours. And now I'm the foolish virgin bride who waits to see her midnight robber beau come home and defile her. When you finally stop for nothing, I'll make you eggs Cro-Magnon. Your escape is starry-eyed, but I'll never let you get too far beyond the bastards at the gate. And you'd never even know it. You made it if you did. How many times did we say this would never happen? Oh, where I want to live and how I want to envelop each side to you. I fold them in my sheets. My sheets are full with them already. If you knew the scent I could arouse in you, you may have come in like a lotus. Instead, I lie beside myself, beside herself. I'll write to you from now on. If I bestow it to the sea, your ships will enter each gale in fours, with their torn elder masts and planks of beseech. I couldn't watch. I prefer to feel you. I feel you like 100 empty shelves. My belly fills with your tide, and each one chokes contentedly. You leave, and they bake in the heat of madness. I'll care for them and bleed them. My beach is as wide as your storm. So I went to Ireland, like Beth said, and when I decided I was going to try to be serious about writing, so I just took up and went on a trip. And when I was over there, every 6 months, Brian knows about this. We'd have to get our passport stamped so they knew exactly where we were. And this poem's a bit about that and just being an immigrant in Ireland or anywhere really. Letter from Munster. Was this too loud or louder? It's okay. I think I've been here too long. I cross myself at any virgin statue like they do. So maybe it's time I go home. When I walk down the street now, no one looks strange or strangely at me. Or I've just been here too long to notice anymore. How long have you been here? He asked me. I don't know. What do my papers say? I answer. Maybe it's time you go home, he says. Or you can stay and work for us. 6 more months. He fixes me some new papers, so that nobody thinks you've been here too long. I go to the pub. Always the same questions. Where are you from? Will you stay or go home? I just got here, I say. Why don't you go home? They laugh at this with their local foreign faces, and I laugh back with my foreign local face. Maybe everybody's been here too long, I say. Maybe it's time for everyone to go home. So I'm going to read a few sugar poems. The history of sugar and like writing poems and stories around it is probably going to be like, it's just like a life obsession thing for me. So I'll read some of the poems and a bit of like nonfiction in between. I actually kind of stumbled on it here in the dank lower basement of University of Georgia Science Library, and I felt like I'd found a blueprint to myself. This history of sugar. They really want. I could trace all my heritage and backgrounds through this history of sugar. I could connect travels of my life across it, from growing up in a nomadic family, through Iran, Israel, Kuwait, Cyprus, Turkey, the Caribbean, Indonesia, Brazil, Africa, to the deep south of Georgia. Journeys that I made with my family and my own, and cultures that I came across. And sugar was a story like the one that I grew up in. It was rootless and rapid and global and always confrontational. I felt like sugarcane was a bloodline for me, and to my eyes, these chapters of the history of it were like these fairy tales that I'd always been looking for. So this is one of the first one. When I went to Ireland, I started really researching it, and this is one of the first sugar poems. It's about, it takes place in my mom's island. My mother's island's like very tall. It's called Waitikubuli in the Carib Indian or indigenous language there, which means tall as her body. It's like 5,000 feet straight up out of the water. Just to compare it, like Blue Ridge Mountain, I think it's like 6,000, so a little bit shorter than that, but straight up from the water. So in the early 1800s, 1834, slavery was abolished by Britain, and Dominica was a colony of it, and within 4 years they had their first legislature there that was mostly ethnic African legislature. It was the first one and the only one for a very long time in the Caribbean. And this created a middle class very quickly, and one of the outcomes of this middle class were these women that they called matadors. They were free women of ethnic African descent or mixed, and they were merchants or from merchant families, and they were like all about exalting this freedom that they had, and with their clothing, and they brought in gorgeous silks and laces from Europe and made like crowns out of these textiles from India, and beautiful huge headpieces and lots of gold. So all the French words in this poem are actually just names for types of pieces of jewelry. So just like make something up, some bling. Okay. Morngrand. Before long, she was finding her own way easily. No one need walk with her, and the wrath came more quickly and thoroughly as she was alone. Now she was not the thin, lost child everyone had fussed over, and what she had become, so doll-like and painted, so flagrantly healthy, was something the men would stop aiming their blows to watch walking by. And that day, through the cane fields swinging hot with blades, it was what they said that sliced her as she made her way, and they taunted, "Not such a long way now, eh, Dudu?" The women's eyes flickered in a different, sharper way from the men's own. But like her, they'd be in Ruat by that evening for harvest mass. She was going for Madras to finish her jupe, just dress, and get the red ribbons for threading through lace in the sleeves and neck of her chemise. It would be the first grand robe she had sewn for her own. Watching herself in the mirror at the shop, she couldn't help but superimpose the rase d'or on her neck, or in her thick hair the zepigneux tremblants, and her aunt's tête en l'air, pinning it up. And to top, she paid her bill, the splendid clothes, a saffron-tinted mouchoir, and Zeno chenille, a matador's guile, swinging heavy and sweet as dove's eggs from her skillful ears. So, stand away. That
Wonderful, Sam. Thank you. Now Ragdoll is going to come and play you one more song, and then we'll be done.
Thank you, Al, for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This one is, this song is from my friend Claudia, who has a really big, beautiful house on Boulevard, and it's a song about Athens, because there's so many great people who play music in Athens, and there's awesome people here too.
So much to Ragdoll, to Frankie and Sam for reading, to y'all for coming. I also want to thank Deirdre, Sugiuchi, the other half of New Town Revue, and Aaron, our intern, who got us on Tumblr and did a lot of other awesome stuff, and is now leaving us to go to grad school in Nebraska. Wish her luck there. Thanks Bart for recording, and Beth Thrasher for doing the absolutely beautiful posters, as always. Very talented person. We're lucky to have her. Thanks to y'all for coming out and supporting New Town Revue. We do this about every 2 months or so. I think the next one's August 17th, is that right? Or something like that. We always mix a couple writers in with some music. And I want to remind y'all that Avid is open for business till 8 if you want to buy Frankie's book or anything else. So thanks for coming.